Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today. We got a whole ton of stuff to cover today, but before we get into all that other stuff, let's go right off the top with this. As most of you guys know by now, last night, the world premiere of the brand new Star Wars film Solo had its premiere in Hollywood last night. Now, Ann and I were lucky enough to go and be there last night. She was dressed up as Han Solo, so I had two choices. I could either dress up as Princess Leia, or I could dress up as the Wookiee. So I chose the Wookiee, and yes, it was just as warm as it looked like it would be. Fortunately, I quite enjoyed the film. Seems like the vast majority of the people there really enjoyed the film. Not what I said in my tweet, and the social media embargo was lifted. The review embargo lifts on the 15th, like 10 days before the movie comes out. So I'll save my full review for then. But basically what I said in my tweet afterwards was really fun. It's an adventure film. That's the key word here, adventure. It's an adventure movie. It really is. It's a true, pure adventure movie. Totally a summer kind of movie. Absolutely summer kind of movie. Alden Ehrenreich is going to shut up everybody who is saying, that guy can't. Yeah, he really can. Of course, Donald Glover was fantastic as Lando. And the chemistry between Han and Chewie is the heartbeat of the movie. It's really what makes the movie. Not best movie of the year kind of material. Like, I don't even know that's in my top 3 best movies of the year so far. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. And after the deadly seriousness of like Rogue One and The Last Jedi, it's a nice light palate cleanser, if you will, for just a good, fun adventure. So I had a great time with it. Now, this is the first time ever in my career that in 1 week, I was invited to 2 premieres. Obviously, there's the Solo premiere, so that was last night. And just a couple of nights ago, I went to the new Margot Robbie premiere, Terminal, with Simon Pegg and Mike Myers in it. Unfortunately, I didn't like one of them, although some great performances, but fortunately, I did like the other one. So anywhere, there's that. Now, speaking of Star Wars, one of the things that I heard about a couple of days ago, and a hell of a lot of people heard about this, I wasn't alone, a lot of people heard about this, was that it looked like Lucasfilm and Disney were now ready to officially greenlight and move ahead with the long discussed Obi-Wan movie. Well, yesterday morning, let me back up a little bit. Yesterday morning, I was talking to one particular contact who said they had just heard that it's done. They're moving forward with it. It's official. Official. They haven't announced it, but that they're going to be announcing it. They are moving forward with the Obi-Wan movie. Then last night, I spoke to 2 different people who are closely connected to the situation that did say to me, yes, the Obi-Wan thing is happening and it is moving forward. So it looks like the worst kept secret over the last year or so that they're probably going to be doing an Obi-Wan movie. It looks like that is now a done deal and it's moving forward. Again, take it all with a grain of salt until Disney and Lucasfilm come out and make the official announcement. But from everything that I'm hearing at this point, it's a done deal. They are moving forward with it. Now it's just a matter of time of when they actually announce it to the public. Now, here's my feelings on this. You guys know that I want new Star Wars movies, new Star Wars content, like this Jon Favreau thing that he's doing. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, where it's set 7 years after Return of the Jedi in a time period we've never had with all new characters. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. I'm not looking for rehashing characters we already know. However, over the past year or two, many of you guys have changed my position on that. You've made me realize that, you know what, there are some really cool stories you could tell in that time period between the end of Revenge of the Sith, when we leave Obi-Wan on Tatooine, and when we later catch up with him in Star Wars Episode 4. There's a lot of stories there to tell. And so I've gone from being mildly against the idea of an Obi-Wan movie to being pretty solid for it. Because again, you guys have convinced me. I do listen to you guys. You guys do change my mind a number of times. And that's one of the ones I've come around to. So yeah, mark me down as somebody who'd be excited for it. If they can capture that same sense of adventure and everything that they just captured in the Solo movie, then we're in for a really good time. So yeah, now we just sit here and wait for the official word to finally come down. All right, with that out of the way now, let's get on to some other movie news going on here that I like to catch you guys up with really quick in a little segment we call the Movie News Feed. First up, Avengers Infinity War continues its journey to becoming just the fourth film in history to join the $2 billion club. According to Variety, the film has made over $76 million at the Chinese box office after just its first full day of release, putting it on pace to break the Chinese opening weekend box office record currently held by the film Monster Hunt 2 at $187 million for its opening weekend. Currently, Infinity War sits at $1.26 billion worldwide and climbing. As far as the overall potential for the box office final take for Avengers Infinity War, it's still yet to be seen. Look, I still believe under no circumstances can Avengers Infinity War even come close, and nowhere near Avatar at that point. Joining the $2 billion club is very feasible, especially with the additional money that's going to get from the Chinese box office. Now, it is going to run into a little bit of a problem when we get films like Deadpool 2, Solo come out, and then even after that, we got some other high-profile summer kind of films coming. But I believe at already being at 1.26, and then in addition to what it's going to make in China, I believe it does have enough momentum going to get to that $2 billion mark. It's certainly not a guarantee at this point, but it is heading that way, and, couldn't be happier for a more deserving movie than like Avengers Infinity War. Next up, it was revealed yesterday that Fox had canceled several of their high-profile shows, including the popular Brooklyn Nine-Nine series, which stars Adam Sandberg. However, all may not be lost just yet. According to Deadline, Hulu, which is Brooklyn Nine-Nine's SVOD home, has emerged as a potential home for the show amongst other possible suitors. A Hulu deal would mirror the streaming platform's pickup of another single-camera comedy, The Mindy Project, after it got canceled by Fox. TBS and NBC are said to be the other networks considering picking up the show. And look, I am a big fan of Andy Samberg. I mean, just Lonely Island alone, even forget all of his other stuff too. Just Lonely Island alone is enough to make me a fan of his for life. However, I've got to admit, I tried Brooklyn Nine-Nine in its first season, and it just never hit with me. I gave it 4 or 5 episodes, I think. It just never connected with me. So it's not all that big of a loss for somebody like me for Brooklyn Nine-Nine to go off the air. However, I know several people that love this show. And actually, a lot of you guys, my viewers, have written to me saying how devastated you are that the show may be getting canceled, and now we know it has been canceled. So that's terrible. And I never want people to lose shows that they love. But one of the great things about this new era that we live in with Netflix, with Amazon Prime, with Crackle, with AMC, with Hulu, is that shows like The Mindy Project, because that's what happened with Mindy Project, got canceled. Hulu said, oh, that's fine, we'll take it. And it continued to run on Hulu. We do have these other options. These showrunners and producers that believe in their shows and believe that their audience still wants to support it do have other options. The fact that it's not just Hulu, but also networks like TBS and NBC might be getting in line, I think this is a really good sign. So I believe fans of Brooklyn Nine-Nine shouldn't be all torn up about this because I think it's going to live on. Next, as many of you know, Jon Favreau, director of films like Iron Man, The Jungle Book, and the upcoming Lion King remake, has signed on to executive produce and write a live-action Star Wars TV series for Disney's new streaming service. Now we have some details. According to Favreau, who was interviewed on the red carpet of the Star Wars Solo premiere last night, the new live-action show will take place 7 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. Will have all new characters, yay, new characters, is going to utilize cutting-edge CGI and motion capture technology similar to the ones he uses in The Jungle Book and the upcoming Lion King movies, and that he is already halfway through writing season 1 of the show. I've been really excited lately to hear about all the talent coming on to do stuff with Star Wars. Rian Johnson signing the new deal, the Game of Thrones team doing Star Wars films, and of course Jon Favreau kind of taking the lead on this brand new live action show. Now look, I have always historically kind of been lukewarm to the idea, to outright against the whole idea of a live action Star Wars TV show. However, I have been warming up to it. Thanks a lot to you guys too. But when they announced that Jon Favreau was going to be doing it, I got a big surge of excitement about it because this guy knows the Star Wars universe. He's a huge fan of the Star Wars universe. And most importantly, far more important than those other things, he's an uber talented dude. When he exhibited his ability to take a pre-existing property that he doesn't come up with himself and do something magical like what he did with Jungle Book, seeing what he did with that, as a fan, it just completely makes my mouth water about the idea of what he could do in a galaxy far, far away. What a talent like Jon Favreau could do working or playing in the sandbox of the Star Wars universe. Then hearing this new news that it takes place 7 years after Return of the Jedi, really a time period we've never really explored very much. The fact that it's going to be all new characters, all new stories, all of this is a perfect recipe for how to make John Campea a happy Star Wars fan. So this all sounds great to me and I'm really excited. Next up, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Legion actor Dan Stevens is set to join Oscar winner Natalie Portman from Annihilation in the upcoming movie Pale Blue Dot. The film also stars Jon Hamm and Zazie Beetz. The project will re-team Stevens with his Legion series creator Noah Hawley, who is directing the film. Pale Blue Dot centers on a married astronaut played by Natalie Portman, who returns to Earth after a mission and begins an affair with a fellow astronaut played by Jon Hamm. She heads into a downward spiral as she loses her connection to her family, a condition that can afflict those who spend long periods of time in outer space. And when her lover begins another affair with an astronaut trainee, played by Zazie Beetz, the bottom drops out. Stevens will play the husband that she cheats on. Now, this is a film that we have been keeping our eyes on for a while, ever since they first announced it, just when it was just Natalie Portman. Then they brought on Jon Hamm. Then they brought on Zazie Beetz. You got the creator of Legion is the director of the show. I mean, and the whole premise of the show sounds fantastic. Now you're adding Dan Stevens. Now, remember, Dan Stevens for a while was just, isn't he that guy from Downton Abbey? Now he's so much more than that. Of course, he was great in Beauty and the Beast. He's been doing wonderful on Legion. It's almost like people are starting to even forget that he was even on Downton Abbey. Anyway, I've been excited about Pale Blue Dot. Seeing Stevens re-team with his Legion creator just makes it all the more enticing. And finally, actor-director Bradley Cooper is apparently set to direct and star in a Leonard Bernstein biopic. Now, if that whole thing sounds familiar, it's because just last week it was also announced that Jake Gyllenhaal was also going to be starring in another Leonard Bernstein biopic. From Slash Film, Martin Scorsese is also producing the film along with Steven Spielberg. It was reported that Scorsese was at one point interested in directing the film himself, but decided to make The Irishman instead. Josh Singer, who wrote Spotlight, that movie's fantastic, is handling the script. Both Spielberg and Scorsese showing this much confidence in Cooper is a pretty big deal. You know, for the life of me, I will never understand why multiple studios make the same movie at the same time. Like whether we're talking about Armageddon or Deep Impact, or whether we're talking about Volcano and Dante's Peak, or whether we're talking whatever. Why studios do this, I'm not really sure. So like just last week we hear Jake Gyllenhaal's doing one, and now we hear Bradley Cooper is doing one. Now for all we know, the Bradley Cooper one was in motion first, and we just don't know. And you know what, sometimes these can be good. Like we've had several projects in the works about the Boston Marathon bombing, and if they look at things from different points of view, they can actually end up giving us a deeper appreciation than if just one film did it. But still, I look, if I'm a movie executive, if I'm some kind of studio executive, and I already know another studio is making a movie about, I don't know, the magical world of USB-powered fans. I have a little USB-powered fan here. I can't stretch over to the camera. Like if I did that, if I found out another studio is doing that, I'm not going to make one myself at the same time. So I'm not quite sure what the logic here is, but who knows, maybe they'll both end up being absolutely fantastic. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now we've got you all caught up to date on the stuff going on in the world of movie news. So now let's go over to the main topics today. Of course, the main topics are submitted by you guys. How do you guys submit a topic or question for the John Campea Show? It's really quite simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put that word topic in the subject line. And of course, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, let's get on with the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Patreon supporter Ali Hussein, who writes, "Hey, John, love your show. Thanks so much, Ali. I just read on Variety Lethal Weapon star Clayne Crawford, who plays Martin Riggs on the TV show, got fired. Variety reports that he's been reprimanded for his behavior twice, both related to concerns over work conditions. Is that really a good reason to fire an actor or replace them? Keep up the great work." All right, so one of the shows that a bunch of people have asked me over the past number of months and last year or so is, John, have you watched Lethal Weapon? And I've never had a chance to watch the show. It's one of those shows where it didn't look very good to me, like right off the top, so I just never checked it out. But I've been hearing from a number of people it's actually not bad. I just never got around to checking it out. So, of course, they were just in the news recently that Crawford, the guy who plays Riggs, has been fired off the show. Now they are scrambling to find a replacement for it in an attempt to save a third season. So the question becomes, is reprimanding for behavior, is that a good reason to fire an actor off a show? Hell yes. Hell yes. It's a good reason to fire somebody off a show. Now, look, I don't know this show. I don't know Crawford. I have no idea, what really went on there and whether was it really not as bad as they're making it sound, or was it worse than they're making it sound? I have no idea. But I can tell you this. As somebody who has worked in team environments, when somebody, particularly a key figure in the team, when somebody becomes a toxic influence and is just hard to be around, and nobody wants to be around that person, and nobody wants to work with that person, then it has a terribly negative, infectious result on your whole operation. It just does. And if you can't correct it, you got to remove them from the situation. And maybe that person will thrive in another situation, which is great, wonderful for them. But if for whatever reason, like their influence is just so negative that people don't want to be there when they're there, that people don't want to work with that person anymore, then you really don't have any choice. You got to remove them. And if you've got a show environment where just like the cast and crew didn't want to work with this guy anymore, and it was causing problems to the point, like if there were enough things that got to the point where there were official reprimands, I can only imagine how many things were going on that didn't get to that level, that didn't get reported, that people just went, whatever. It's very difficult to give any sort of accurate commentary when you're not there, when you're not on set and you don't see what's going on. All I can say is that over the years, I've been in that situation once or twice. And really, at that point, if you don't get rid of the negative influence, it can have a detrimental effect on your whole operation. And that's not good, and that's not healthy, and that's not going to make anybody happy. And it's always unfortunate when you got to remove somebody, but really, ultimately, you're not doing that person any favors by keeping them around either. If they're not thriving in your environment, it's probably best for them to remove them so they can go into another environment where maybe they can reach their potential. And it's certainly not doing your own team any good. So yes, that is absolutely as good of a reason as any to remove somebody. Again, I'm not speaking firsthand because I wasn't there. I haven't seen it. I haven't even watched the show. But if you're asking me in principle, are these good reasons to fire an actor off a show? Damn right. For the health of your show, damn right. It's a good reason. That's just my thoughts anyway. All right, next email today comes to us from Jeff Kerns, who writes, John, do you think with the recent changes to MoviePass limiting to one viewing per movie, cost Avengers Infinity War $20 to $30 million at the box office in its second week? Thanks. All right, so what Jeff is talking about here is that MoviePass, ever since they went to their $10 a month deal, MoviePass removed their restriction and basically let you, if you saw a movie you loved, like let's say you loved Quiet Place, you could use your MoviePass to go back every day for the next 2 weeks and watch Quiet Place every single day. And I know there were a lot of people looking forward to using their MoviePass to watch Avengers Infinity War 5, 6, 7 times, whatever, right? However, just before Infinity War dropped, MoviePass realized that, and MoviePass reinstituted their restriction that as a MoviePass member, you can only use your card to watch a movie once. You can still go watch a different movie every day, but you can only watch each movie once. So the question becomes, do we think that cost Avengers Infinity War between $20 to $30 million at the box office in the second week? Well, that's a big number, but here's the more important thing to keep in mind. MoviePass didn't cost Infinity War anything. MoviePass didn't cost Infinity War everything. Look, if MoviePass wasn't around and wasn't a thing right now, it would make no difference. The only thing is MoviePass, for a finite period of time, lifted their restriction on seeing a movie more than once, and then they reinstituted the restriction. Did that cost Infinity War? No, it's not. It's not MoviePass's fault one way or the other. If somebody wants to go see Infinity War, they're going to go see it. If somebody had MoviePass and wanted to go see it 4 days in a row, could they have? Well, sure, but then you're in no different situation than any other movie a couple of years ago when there was no such thing as MoviePass, or back just a year and a half ago when MoviePass had their restriction back then too. It's only been for this small window of time that MoviePass didn't. So you can't really try to ascribe blame to MoviePass for that whatsoever. And even if they didn't have the restriction, would it really have cost? Would they have done 20 to 30 million more in business? I don't think so. I mean, would they have made more? Absolutely. 20 to 30 million more? Nah. Now, I don't see that. I don't see a number that big. But let's say this, though. If it was going to be that big, let's say it was going to cost them another $20 million, then that really does justify MoviePass in putting that restriction back in, because that would have cost MoviePass another $20 million when their company only has $15 million left in the bank. By the way, have we mentioned that if you have a MoviePass card, you should use it as much as possible, because I do not know for how many more months MoviePass is even going to be in business. All right, let's move on now to the final email question of the day. And the final email question today comes to us from Bob Sackett, who writes, "Greetings, John. Love the show." Thank you so much, Bob. "I've read that the $6 billion Man movie lost its director, and that Mel Gibson is being eyed as a possible replacement and was already considered for the Oscar Goldman role. What are your thoughts? Keep up the great information you provide." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Bob, and thanks for the kind words as well. So, yes, for those of you who don't know about this, Mark Wahlberg has a $6 billion Man movie coming. Now, this is, of course, based on the old television show, $6 Million Man. Damn inflation. $6 Million Man is being turned $6 billion Man. Now, they've been trying for years to get a $6 billion man put together. As a matter of fact, a number of years ago, like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, they were even trying to get one together with Jim Carrey. And it was going to be like a pure comedy, but that thing eventually fell apart. So they're moving ahead. Mark Wahlberg's going to be starring in it. And they had this director, but the director has left over creative differences. So they're trying to find a new director. There have been some whispers in the last 24 hours that they're looking at Mel Gibson. Now, this is interesting because Mel Gibson, if you guys remember last week, we talked about on the show how Mel Gibson has just circled the next film he's going to direct, which is a World War II film called Destroyer, based on a true story of a naval ship. And apparently his girlfriend wrote the script, so there's no getting out of that movie. So he's going to have to direct that one. So could he do this? I don't know. The idea of Mel Gibson, though, in the Oscar Goldman role, he's kind of like Charlie to Charlie's Angels. Oscar is kind of like the handler for Steve Austin, the $6 million man, or the $6 billion man in this case. That's an intriguing role. That would be intriguing. And look, bottom line is this. Mel Gibson is one of the best directors in the business. His film Hacksaw Ridge probably should have won Best Picture. And he's just a phenomenal director. So if he does end up directing $6 Billion Man, great. I happen to think probably Mark Wahlberg will figure out a way to get Peter Berg to direct it, because it seems like Peter Berg directs everything Mark Wahlberg does. And every Peter Berg film that Mark Wahlberg stars in gets a lot of high praise from critics and fans and everything. So if I were a betting man, I'd probably put $5 on Peter Berg directing $6 Billion Man. But if they did say Mel Gibson, and somehow Mel Gibson worked it out with his schedule, with his responsibilities of supposed to be directing Destroyer, that would be fine too. But we'll just have to see how that all turns out. Okay, with that stuff out of the way now, we got about 10 minutes left here to take some live questions. You guys have already been sending in a whole bunch of live questions, so let's go over to those right now. And the first live question today comes to us from Mr. T-Bone81, who says, "Solo premiere was so awesome. We had the best spot, front row, next to the interview stage, got pics with everyone. Bummed didn't get to meet you though." Yeah, no, I was a little bit further back. I didn't get to, the after party was great. Had a good time there, and I'm glad you enjoyed that premiere. I had a really good time there too. I thought it was a lot of fun. And the applause, just when George Lucas walked into the theater just to go and take a seat. George Lucas walked into the theater and everybody noticed, and a whole bunch of people stood up, and like the whole audience gave George Lucas this big ovation. And again, he wasn't even coming out on stage. He was just walking into the theater to come take his seat. So that was pretty cool. All right, Shervin House writes, "Saw Deadpool 2 at a fan screening. The opening credits are even funnier than the first movie, and the post-credit scene is hands down the best of all Marvel films." Well, Deadpool is not a Marvel film, so let's not forget that. But no, I've got a number of my subscribers who have been writing to me I think 3 or 4 different people who were at a Deadpool screening and are just raving about it, which is great to hear. Now, I'm going to go see Deadpool on Monday morning. I will have my review for Deadpool up Monday afternoon, or Monday night, I should say. My review for Deadpool 2 will be up Monday night. I'm going to go see it Monday morning, so I'm very excited about it. But yeah, man, I love that first movie, and I've got nothing but faith in the second one. Super looking forward to it. All right, next one comes to us from Nate Piacientino, who writes, I know you can't say, but I really hope Han says, I'll try spinning, that's a good trick, at some point in the movie. Look, I'll tell you right now, no, he does not say that absolutely ridiculous line that should be stricken from all record books ever. Thank God Han Solo doesn't say anything that lame. Oh my God. So I hope you're being sarcastic, Nate. I'm sensing maybe you're being sarcastic. I hope you're being sarcastic because, oh my God. So I will tell you right now, for any of you out there that just struck fear into your heart, the idea that Han Solo may say, I'll try spinning. That's a neat trick. Don't worry about it. He doesn't say it. Okay. That is not in the movie. Breathe a sigh of relief. All right. Next one comes to us from Chris Parker, who writes, who, in your opinion, is the preeminent FX house? Well, that's easy. Industrial Light and Magic. ILM has done some classic movies, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, etc. Yet lately, Weta, no, you're wrong about that. Anyway, lately, Weta seems to have done the more groundbreaking work now. Gollum, Apes, Avatar, and just read they did Thanos. Well, yeah, first of all, ILM is still, they didn't just used to do classic stuff. They are still the crown jewel of the visual effects world. And they were the lead visual effects company on Avengers Infinity War, which makes sense since they're owned by Disney, so that makes sense. But no fewer, I'm not kidding, no fewer than 22 different visual effects companies worked on Infinity War. 22, including Weta. And Weta did do some work on Thanos. However, there were 2 sub-companies contracted out to do the work on Thanos. One of them was Weta, but the lead one was Digital Domain. So Digital Domain and Weta both worked on the visual effects for Thanos, but Digital Domain, I believe, took the lead on it. So yes, look, and you're never going to hear me crap talk Weta at all. Weta is amazing. Like, what they do is incredible, but ILM is still the gold standard. And yes, Weta did a good amount of work on the Thanos. What you see in Thanos, a lot of that has to do with Weta, but even more than Weta was probably Digital Domain. But again, and that's the thing with a lot of these big visual effects heavy movies is like, if you watch the credits, there'll be like 10, 11, 12, 13 different visual effects companies credited because there's so much effects work to be done in such a short amount of time. Like they got like a year to do these things that no one company can possibly do it. And so they subcontract out a whole ton of different companies to work on different things, all under one visual effects supervisor. And that's how that goes. So yeah, I would say that ILM is still probably the gold standard. KW Garrett writes, over under 30%. In Deadpool 2, Morena Baccarin becomes a villain or mutant. I'm going to take the under on that. I think there's a decent chance she dies in it. Nobody's told me that. I just think there's a pretty decent chance that she dies in this movie, which is going to be heartbreaking because I love her in these Deadpool movies. But I'll take the under 30% that she either becomes a villain or a mutant. Alatius Crum writes, very good. I like that. I like that a lot. Symptomatic Fiend writes, better movie Kiss. Okay, better movie. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or Nice Guys? Both directed by Shane Black. Which, oh my God, which is, look, if it wasn't for the fact that Shane Black was directing this new Predator movie, I would be paying no attention to it whatsoever. But because Shane Black is directing the new Predator movie, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for now. Even though I didn't think the trailer was all that great, but whatever, Shane Black's directing it, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. And one of the big reasons, or two of the big reasons I'll give him the benefit of the doubt is those 2 movies right there, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys. These are 2 terrific movies, both with fantastic casts. I'm going to go Nice Guys. Yeah, I mean, I've loved Kiss Kiss Bang Bang for a long, long time, man, but I'm going to go Nice Guys. To me, Nice Guys is the better movie. They're both great, though. They're both awesome. Zizu writes, when are you posting Aaron Cummings' interview? Well, I conducted the interview 2 days ago. I've got an hour and a half of footage, and I'm going to tell you what. we only got halfway through. We did the interview for about an hour and a half, and we only got halfway through. I need to edit that down to like a 5-minute version and like a 35-minute version. And then we need to do part 2 sometime in June or July. We'll do part 2 because we just ran out of time. But I'm hoping to post that this weekend. I'm going to see if I can get enough time to get in there and start editing this thing. And hopefully this thing, oh my God, guys, it's so great. I love this conversation with Erin Cummings. For those of you who are, wait a minute, who's Erin Cummings? She's an actress. You've probably seen her in a few things and maybe don't know her name, but she was in my little movie, The Anniversary. She was also Spartacus's wife in the show Spartacus, one of my top 3 all-time favorite television shows. She was just in, she had a small part, but she was just in The Disaster Artist. She's appeared on like 20 different TV shows, including The Blacklist this season. Anyway, she's such a character and she gives some great behind the scenes, like this is what Hollywood is like, kind of stories and telling her story. It's amazing. She's a cancer survivor. I mean, she still has her health stuff going on. Like a couple of years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Like 1 week later, her husband, okay, get this. She just gets married a couple of years ago. Immediately finds out she has breast cancer. Like a week after that, finds out that her husband has like a blood cancer of some sort. Just crazy stuff. But anyway, so has these incredible stories to tell. I cannot wait to share this interview with you. I think even if you've never heard of Erin, just listening to her stories, I think you're going to find entertaining and really informative and moving at the same time. I cannot wait to share this interview with you. But again, it's a daunting thing. I've had many things going on the last couple of days, including last night's premiere, but I am going to get around to it. Hopefully I'm going to edit that this weekend and hopefully get it up this weekend. At the very latest, I'll put it up on Monday, but I'm hoping to get it put up online this weekend. But thanks for asking about that. I appreciate that. Zizu writes, did you interview Margot Robbie? Just talked to her. Didn't have a press opportunity with her. It was just there at the after party. So that's it. Didn't have a camera there to talk to her. Murray writes, after you saw Solo, what's Anne's next Insta-program page? Wookiees? Oh, yeah, Insta-Wookie. Yeah, so like, for those of you who don't know, after we saw Star Wars Last Jedi, Anne, my wife, fell in love with the Porgs. Loves those damn little things. We got Porg stuff all over the place. She loves them so much, she created an Instagram account called Porgstagram. And she would take a bunch of her various Porg toys and take them around with her and do different pictures with them and post them to Porgstagram. It was really fun. But oh my goodness, yeah, if she was going to do another one, and she's not, but if she was going to do another one, it would totally be Chewstagram or something about Chewbacca, because she loves Chewbacca in this movie. By the way, I'm going to say this. I probably shouldn't say this because I didn't say it in my tweet, but I'm just going to say it anyway. You remember how when we all came out of the first Avengers movie and a whole ton of us were like, we finally get the Hulk we've been waiting for? This is the Chewbacca we've all been waiting for. That's all I'm going to say, but this is the Chewbacca we've been waiting for. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's see. Next one comes from KW Garrett, who writes, no, you don't comment on YouTube channels, but 4 days after you announced Movie Club, SJU said they'd like to do a movie club. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Well, I mean, look, I highly doubt they were imitating me. It was probably most likely something that, it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. They've probably been thinking about it for a long time too. So it's probably not a copy thing. But I will say this. I created the world's first movie podcast. It was the Movie Blog Audio Edition. And it was before the word podcast was even being used. This was before somebody termed the coin podcast. So it was just an online internet audio show. And then later took on the term podcast. But the amount, shortly after that, the amount of sites that completely jumped on board with that because I was doing it, is saying, I was one of the first people, if not the first dude, in that whole sphere to start doing video and putting up video. I was putting up video before YouTube was even a thing. And then everybody else started doing it. People would have started doing it anyway, so it's not like they were all copying me. It would have started doing it anyway. But I've always tried to be I've always tried to try new things. And sometimes things work and sometimes things don't work. And sometimes when they work, other people adapt them too. But that's the nature of innovation, right? Somebody tries something. If it works, and other people take that same thing and try to build upon that. That's how innovation is done. So no, I don't think at all SGU was imitating me at all. It's probably something they were thinking about and mulling over for a long time, just like I was. So I think that's just coincidence. They weren't copying me. Chris Miner writes, according to Deadpool's list, what's the worst Ryan Reynolds movie? Green Lantern, R.I.P.D., Selfless. Selfless isn't all that bad, actually. Blade Trinity or Bottleneck. Happy Rusev Day. Yes, I forgot about that. Happy Rusev Day, everybody. Boy, probably the worst out of those, probably Blade Trinity. Yeah, I'll probably say Blade Trinity was probably the worst of that bunch. R.I.P.D. was bad. Green Lantern is not good, but I still don't think Green Lantern's as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. Selfless had some redeeming qualities. One particular actress was not one of them. And Bottleneck I got a kick out of years ago, but I mean, it was bad, yes. But I'm probably going to say Blade Trinity, so I'll go Blade Trinity on that. Okay, guys, just time for one last question. Ben Rayner writes, Bottleneck, is it real? Oh, yes, it's real. Can't find it anywhere. Curious to see it. Nah, don't be all that curious to see it. But yes, absolutely, it is real. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Those of you who had outstanding questions there, don't worry about it. I'm going to take those, include them on the next companion video, so they will be there. I've got a full... Actually, I'll show it to you right here. I've got this big document. It's not all that big, actually. I got this big document right here that you can see with all the questions that people have been asking over the past, this week. And I've just been waiting to have enough of them to actually make up a full show, a full companion video. And I thought I had enough after yesterday. Still not quite enough, but now I will for sure. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me. Listen, I almost forgot to mention, tomorrow night, that's going to be Saturday, at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are going to do a 1-hour Avengers 4 theories video. Because I know a whole bunch of you guys have been asking me about that. John, let's do a video where we can just talk about our Avengers 4 theories. So we're going to do that tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our All Avengers 4 theories video. Make sure you come on in. You want to hear a bunch of people's theories? You got a few theories you want to unload? Come on in and let's get to it. We're going to do that tomorrow night, so make sure you join us for that. Also, I'm going to let you guys know something too. I mentioned this morning on Open Mic. As you guys know, I used to do the John Campea Show in the first part of the day and then Open Mic later in the day. I wanted to switch it up so I could get to later news in the day, so talk about today's movie news. But what I'm finding is that a number of people are mentioning that's not working for them as well. And really, not that much news breaks between when I was doing my show and when the afternoon show would come anyway. So starting on Monday, the John Campea Show, the main show, the movie news show, this show will be moving back to 8:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. That's 11:30 a.m. East Coast time. And Open Mic will be moving back to 2 o'clock. So we're going to be moving that back there. Thank you guys for indulging me you know me, I like to experiment a little bit. I like to move things around and try different things. So thank you guys for indulging me and let me try it out. Didn't work like the way I was hoping it would work. So clearly, I think it's become clear that the best way to do it is the John Campea Show in the mornings and Open Mic in the afternoon. So that's what we're going back to starting on Monday. So thank you again for your indulgence in that, guys. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's show. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.